Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. This is going to be your comprehensive guide to camping. So you want to go on a camping trip and don't know where to start? Well, you're in the right place. This is going to be a pretty comprehensive beginner's guide to camping, and I'm going to walk you through everything that you need, from booking a site to the gear that you need to the actual camping trip itself. Camping is the perfect little weekend getaway. There is nothing like escaping out to nature, putting down your phone, just relaxing for a weekend, getting out of your day-to-day life. And for this video, I'm going to keep it nice and simple. I'm just going to walk you through an overnight camping trip. So this will not be a week-long or even a weekend trip. Just for your first time, I'm going to walk you through just a one-night trip. And I've gone camping my whole life. It's literally one of my favorite things to talk about on social media and one of the things I really gear my channels around. So if you're not already subscribed or following me on TikTok and Instagram, make sure to do so because there is a lot of camping content on there. Alright, so where do we even start? I'm going to break this video down into 5 different categories. And those being, number 1 is types of camping. Number 2, how to pick and book a campsite. Number 3, the gear that you need. Number 4, food and clothing for your trip. And number 5 is just kind of a miscellaneous everything else section with some tips. So let's just get right to it. Number 1, types of camping. Okay, there's a lot of different ways that you can actually go camping, because I'm assuming you didn't just go out and buy a camper if you've never camped before, but maybe you did, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Camping in a camper is one of my favorite ways to camp. That's how I grew up doing it, and there's so many different ways that you can do it as well. Different sizes, different types of campers for all different needs. I love camping in a camper, but I'm going to assume that that's not the option you're going with, because if you've never camped before, I definitely recommend a cheaper option like a tent. It's the most basic, the easiest, the cheapest way to start camping, and you can buy tents from anywhere from Walmart to Target for some cheaper ones. You can go to REI and invest in a higher quality one from a better brand. You can even find them used or barely used on Facebook Marketplace. People are selling tents that they've only used once or twice for a super good deal on there. So if you're looking to stick within a budget or just try it out, you can buy them used. I don't see any problem with buying a used tent if I'm being honest. Just test it out beforehand, but we'll get into that more later. But that way you can see if you like camping before investing more money into it on tents and supplies. The next type of camping is car camping, and yes, this does count as camping. This is literally where you just sleep in the back of your car. You have everything that you need right in there with you. Now you might need some specific items for this. Obviously you don't need a tent, but you will need something to sleep on, like a sleeping pad or a little mattress. They make tons of them out there. You can find them anywhere as well, like Amazon or REI. Another thing you might need for this is window covers, because you don't want people looking in, or you may just want to keep the light out. So again, it costs a little bit of money right up front there to get started, but it's not too bad. And it's a great option if you really just don't want to camp in a tent, or if you feel safer in your car. Another way to camp is rooftop tents, and this is something that me and my husband are trying actually this weekend for the very first time. So when this video is going up, we will be out trying out our rooftop tent. And these can be a bit pricey. They're not really the best for beginners in my opinion, because they do cost quite a bit of money. You also have to make sure you have a vehicle that it will fit, and crossbars and all the different hookups. But we're going to be trying out ours this weekend, so I will definitely have more content coming on that. But it's super important to try out your gear beforehand. So we're taking our tent just on a little overnight camping trip this weekend. We do have a lot of bigger trips planned with it coming up for the summer, so we wanted to take it out for one night, test everything out to make sure it all works and that we know how to use it, so when our bigger trips come up, we'll be prepared and know what we're doing. But like I said, this isn't really a beginner-friendly option, but I wanted to throw it out there while we're talking about different ways you can camp. There's also backpacking, where you literally carry all your supplies with you in a backpack, and you basically hike to a spot that you want to stay overnight or along a trail. This is also not really a beginner-friendly option in my opinion, because you do need a lot of specific gear for it. Specifically, you need a lot of lightweight gear, and you're not going to be going out with your regular giant tent and sleeping bag and pillow on a backpacking trip. It also requires a little bit more knowledge about just hiking, backpacking, and camping in general. But if you're going with somebody who's done it before and maybe has all the gear for you to borrow, then it could be a really fun option. This is definitely one of the most immersive kind of camping out there, because you really are just in the middle of nowhere usually. And there's also dispersed camping. This is something that we do quite a bit on our road trips. This is basically finding a free spot of land to camp on and just pull over for the night. You can't usually book these ahead of time. They're usually first come, first serve. And there's usually not really any amenities like a fire pit, a toilet. Every once in a while you'll get one with one, but usually this is just a quick stop overnight. I don't expect any luxuries here since it's free, so I'll usually go to a gas station beforehand, I'll wash up, I'll use the toilet there. We won't be planning on having a fire at something like this. This is literally just a stop usually on the middle of our road trip when we need just somewhere quick and easy to sleep that's free. This probably isn't the kind of camping that you're looking forward to do because like I said, there's not a fire pit, there's not usually toilets, but again, I'm talking about different kinds of camping and this is another one that me and my husband do quite often. There's also booking a lodge lodge or a cabin, and yes, this can be considered camping. It's definitely beginner friendly because you don't need to have a ton of gear specifically for camping. It's almost like staying in a hotel instead of in the woods, and it's definitely not a super immersive kind of camping if that's what you're looking for. But in my opinion, just a simple tent is the best way to go for a beginner. Learn how to set it up beforehand, practice at home, look for rips, tears, holes in it, watch a YouTube tutorial beforehand if you need to on how to set up a tent just so you know before you go. You don't want to get out to your campsite and have no signal on your phone and not know how to put up your tent. So those are a lot of the different kind of ways that you can camp. The next section is how to pick and book a campsite. Alright, so how do you actually go about finding and booking your campsite? Now there's two main kinds of campsites. Ones that you can reserve ahead of time and ones that are first come first serve. For your first time camping, I definitely recommend finding somewhere where you can book ahead of time. It just relieves so much stress in my opinion because you don't have to worry about finding a campsite. You never know when they could be all booked up and then you don't know where to go after that. So for your first time, definitely find somewhere where you can reserve ahead of time. Pick out your site that you want. Maybe you want some views or to be on water or on a lake. But knowing what to expect when you get there and that you have a spot is definitely peace of mind. So there's many different ways to find a campsite. First is simply looking online. You can search up campsites near me or campsites wherever you're going. You can do this on Google and a ton will come up. Click on the link, you can go right to their website, reserve it through there. If you look on TikTok, that usually has a lot of unique sites as well. I really like using the recreation.gov website and their app. This is the government's centralized travel planning and reservation system. Their website and their app are just especially easy to use. Again, you just put in your dates, you put in where you want to go, it'll give you a whole bunch of recommendations and you can book right on there. It'll show you what's available, what's not, give you your confirmation number and everything that you need. Another good app is called The Dirt. It's a free app with some pay-to-use features. It allows you to filter what kind of campsite you're looking for. It'll give you a whole bunch of recommendations. And then you can click on the one you want, learn more about it. It'll take you right to their website or you can make a reservation right there. And don't forget word of mouth. This is a great way to find good campgrounds, especially some hidden gems. People who've been camping for years usually know all the best places to go and the places to avoid. And keep in mind, if you're camping at a state or national park, you may need to pay extra fees on top of your camping fee. Most state parks and national parks have an entrance fee, and you can buy just a single day use pass or you can buy a yearly pass. Just think about how much you're going to use it before investing in a yearly pass. But if you do want just a day pass, you can usually just get it right at the front gate of the park. But I just wanted to make you aware that there are sometimes fees like that. And when choosing and booking campsites, make sure you're aware of which amenities that they have. If you're paying to stay at a campsite, they usually have things like fire pits and toilets, but if you want something extra like a shower, not all of them have that, so you're going to have to check online beforehand. Alright, now we're on to section 3, which is gear you need. Sometimes there's this stigma around camping where people will think or say that you need to really be roughing it for it to be camping, and in my opinion, that's not true at all. Like I mentioned a little bit earlier, you can be staying in a cabin and that can be considered camping. You can bring as much or as little as you like, as many luxuries from home if you like. Glamping is a thing for a reason, but I love to bring a lot of little luxuries that make camping just a bit easier for me. I'm not gonna go into a lot of those luxuries, but I just wanted to let you know ahead of time, you can literally bring as much or little as you like and it's still considered camping. So before I really get into my list, I've got my phone here with my big old checklist ready to go through. I just wanted to say that I do have my Amazon storefront linked below with all of the products basically that I'm going to be listing. I've got a big category on there for road trips and camping where a lot of the products that I use are all listed on there. So if you want to check that out, make sure to do so. It's in the description below. Alright, first is food and clothing, and I'm going to get into that a lot more in the next section, so I'm just brimming over it right now. Of course, you will need a tent if you're camping by a tent. I really love pop-up tents. We've had ours for the last couple years or so, and it just saves us so much time. It's super beginner friendly as well. It takes literally like 2 minutes to pop up. We put down a tarp, we put the tent down, it pops up into place, so beginner friendly. Make sure you're getting the correct size as well when picking out a tent. There's 2-person, 4-person, 6, 8, 10. You can get a ton of different sizes. You're also gonna need firewood, so make sure you get that beforehand. Make sure you pay attention to firewood laws as well, because sometimes if you're traveling further distances, you're not really allowed to carry firewood from state to state. And you can get this locally at a lot of different stores. You'll see firewood bundles. You can also get it on Facebook Marketplace. People will sell their own bundles, and that's usually for a better price. Or just ask around. You probably know somebody that has a stack of firewood that they'd be happy if you take. You'll also need fire starters, so this can be your matches, your regular lighters. I like to DIY some where I just take a toilet paper roll and I fill it with lint from the dryer, and then I light that with my little weatherproof match that I have. Don't forget sunscreen and bug spray, especially the bug spray. There's so many bugs out there, especially ticks and mosquitoes. You will see a lot of when camping. Depending on the time of year too, you might get lucky and have like hardly any bugs, or you might get really unlucky and there be a lot of bugs. So just be prepared and bring a lot of bug spray, a lot of sunscreen. I've talked a little bit more about this in my previous video about some of my Granola Girl summer favorites and essentials, so make sure to check out that as well. Make sure to bring whatever supplies you need as well for whatever kind of hobbies or activities you're doing. So if you're hiking, make sure to bring your hiking backpack with all of your hiking supplies in it. And again, I have a ton of videos talking about what I bring hiking, so I won't get into all that here. You'll also need all of your sleeping supplies, so what you're going to sleep on, you have to decide if you're going to use a cot, an air mattress, a sleeping pad if you're gonna rough it and just lay right on the ground. Don't forget all of your pillows, blankets, sleeping bags as well. You'll also want some camp chairs to sit around the fire. I also really like to bring a camp table, and this is oftentimes overlooked because most campsites include a picnic table. I like to bring just a little folding one with me, keep it right by my camp chairs so I can prepare food on it or use it to help make s'mores. A multi-tool is a good thing to have because you just never know when you're gonna need it. Don't forget games and activities. You can bring things like bocce ball, bean bags, card games, board games, especially if it's raining, you're gonna want something to do in the tent. I also like to bring a little rug that I set right outside the tent so I can put my shoes on it. I can take on my shoes, take off my shoes, and just have a little barrier from the dirt from the tent. But a little tip that I have is to keep your shoes inside your tent while you're sleeping. A little critter could come up and run off with them, and you just don't want to worry about stuff like that. Don't forget lighting, so flashlights, headlamps, little lanterns you can keep on the table, and make sure they're charged ahead of time. Don't forget your regular toiletries as well. You'll also want a cooler with ice or ice packs. Don't forget cooking supplies as well. Watch videos ahead of time on what recipes you're trying to make if you're trying to do something a little more intricate to see what tools that you need. Or you can always just keep it simple and do sandwiches. So with that as well is plates, silverware, bowls, cups. It's always good to have a little first aid kit on you as well. And you may want to check out my video as well about the 10 essentials. Those are all great items to carry with you while camping. So again, that video will be linked below. Don't forget any safety tools you feel you may need. And then to store all the things that I bring with me, I have a big plastic tub. I throw almost all the things that I just mentioned into that tub to bring with me and have them all just in one space and to keep them organized. So that just stays in my closet at home all the time, and whenever I go camping, I bring it out, I go through it, take out what I need, add what I do need, and then just put that in my car. So then I know I have everything with me. Alright, and now we're on to section 4, which is food and clothing. So first for clothing, make sure you're checking the weather beforehand. It can be really hot during the day and really cold at night, so I always recommend bringing sweatpants and a sweatshirt. Not only can it get cold, but the bugs can also get really bad and you're going to want some way to protect yourself. But just check beforehand for temperature changes and rain if you need to bring rain supplies. But just make sure you're being smart about it and doing your research ahead of time. I also like to bring a comfy pair of camp shoes that just slip on and off, that don't need to be tied. Just something I can throw on when I'm getting in or out of the tent that's super easy and super comfortable, and that I don't care about getting dirty. And I'm not going to go into making an entire list for you about, oh, you need t-shirts, shorts, underwear, socks. You know all that stuff, and you can look up really comprehensive lists like that online. So I'm not going to do that here, but if you're interested in more camping clothes, I do have a lot of videos on my TikTok, Instagram, and even here on YouTube Shorts about camping outfit ideas. So yeah, if you want some camping outfit inspiration, make sure to check those out. And moving on to food, my biggest tip is just plan everything beforehand. Go on Google or TikTok and look up some recipes. You can even practice them at home if you're worried about it. Make a nice big checklist of everything that you need when you go to the grocery store and to use as a packing list as well. Obviously, keep the food that needs to be kept cold in a little cooler to bring with. I also like to have a little tub for all my dry goods or things that can be kept room temperature. Some of my favorite camp foods are pudgy pies, and I have a couple videos that I've made about this already. Hot dogs are a super simple one, and so are sandwiches if you really don't want to cook over a flame. Don't forget snacks and desserts as well. S'mores is obviously a staple for camping, so don't forget your s'more cooker if you're gonna make them. Also, make sure you're storing your food correctly. Definitely don't leave anything out or you might attract some unwanted visitors. Alright, we're finally on to section 5, which is just some miscellaneous stuff and some more tips. And the first, which is a really big one, and I've kind of mentioned that already, but it's to try your gear out beforehand. Blow up your air mattress. The last thing that you want to do is find a hole in your air mattress and not have any patches with you to prepare it. Put up your tent so you know how to check everything for rips, tears, and holes. This is such an avoidable situation to have if you just test everything out beforehand. And make a checklist for yourself if it's easier, if you need a packing list or a grocery list. There are a million packing lists for you on Google. Again, I'm not going to list out every single thing for you, but you can go back to my gear you need section and write out all of that stuff so you have it in a nice little easy easy list, but make sure you're including all your different types of clothing and all the different kinds of food that you need and all the ingredients. Next is to not forget about being respectful about quiet times. A lot of campgrounds will have posted quiet times. It's usually around 10 p.m. or so, where you just have to quiet things down. I know being up around the campfire is super fun and exciting and you're all yelling, maybe you're drinking, but you have to be mindful of the quiet time and respect your other campers. Most campgrounds also limit the number of vehicles you can actually have on your campsite. If you're only bringing one vehicle, that's usually something you never have to worry about, but if you are bringing two, or if you're meeting a friend and you're both sharing a campsite, check that out beforehand because they might not allow 2 tents or 2 vehicles. It's also super important to practice leave no trace principles. This is something I talk about and preach all the time on my channel. Leave your campsite better than you found it. Pick up after yourself and others, and make sure you're staying on the path so you don't disturb the local wildlife and plants. Alright, we're on to my very last tip, and that is to be kind to yourself. If you're new at something, you will not get it perfect your first time. This is supposed to be fun, not stressful, so allow yourself to be a beginner at something. Be patient, be okay with learning, and you will get better. So that is basically my complete guide to camping for a beginner. I would also love to hear your best camping tips and gear that you always bring in the comments below. And again, if you're not already, make sure you're subscribed to my channel for more videos like this, and I post every day to TikTok and Instagram, so make sure you go follow me there as well. And thank you so much for watching.